need subscribers really bad on this channel, so if you could, I would certainly appreciate it if you could subscribe.
It is now a very special time of the year for us. It's very early spring and all the plants are starting to sprout out new growth, and we're heading for the Owyhee Canyon to do a little bit of fishing and a little bit of rock hunting, and maybe even try out a hot springs or two. There should be wildflowers in bloom. We cross over the Cascade Mountains and find there's just a little bit of new snow on top, but that's okay. We're heading for the desert. Our first part of the journey will be down Leslie Gulch with all of its pinnacles and dikes and even little bubbles like caves all through the rocks. It's raining a little bit even in the Owyhee Canyon, but not too bad as night is upon us when we reach. Just after sunset, we can see the steep little pinnacles all alongside the road as we wind our way down into Leslie Gulch, where there's a good spot to camp. We're hoping the next morning we wake up to nice sunshine in Leslie Gulch under clear skies. So it looks like it's going to be a good day for us. We'll go down to the Owyhee Reservoir and check on the fishing, but we found they only have 15% of the normal rainfall this year and snow melt. So the Owyhee Reservoir is almost dry. There's only a little stream running out in front of us. So we get on the Hondas and decide to go up to ride the Hondas all the way up to the hot springs. Echo Rock Hot Springs, located just up above what would be the Owyhee Reservoir if it had water in it. It's a short walk up on the hill where we find volunteers who made a very nice pool. It even has the plumbing where you can turn it on and off.
If it had rained, it would be so darn hot you couldn't get in.
Oh, is there cold water you can? Oh wow. Yeah, real secret.
Real secret.
Yeah, down by the river down here, they've got some 4-inch PVC. It makes a good shower. Get a little cool.
Very long to fill?
Oh, I think there's 4 or 5 minutes it's ready to get in if you just let it fill up around you.
We are even serenaded at the hot springs by a little chucker sitting high up on a rock where he can keep an eye on us for the rest of the flock and also serenade us with his little chucker calls.
Chuck, 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 chuck. You're not much of a bird.
It's just keeping watch, telling everyone we're here.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice. There's the shower for Echo Rock Hot Springs. You just get under that tube and you get the greatest shower you've ever had.
After a short hike, we find the wildflower bloom is started already. We walk around the top of the hill and find some of the beautiful globe mallows waving in a gentle breeze on top the hill right behind the hot springs. We look out across the dry reservoir and we see an old buck antelope walking along. He loves the clover coming up in Owyhee Reservoir. We go on to look for some petroglyphs. We understand there's some woolly mammoth petroglyphs someplace in the Owyhee Canyon. We find some petroglyphs, and we do find some petroglyphs, but these petroglyphs aren't the real thing, they're forgeries. So it's down the two-tracker road till we come to our Hondas where we can jump on them and move down the dry bank of the reservoir.
And now me.
You gonna stop at that corral, Sam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get me.
The breathtaking scenery of the Owyhee Canyon flashes in front of us as we head down toward where our camp would be. A few cattle are grazing on the green grasses in the dry reservoir.
Do you have any idea when the reservoir was built, Sam?
1930s.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably done a little bit before Hoover Dam was built, because this dam was a prototype. They were testing the design before they built Hoover.
Oh, so this was probably maybe...
After the reservoir was built, the old homestead was flooded, and now that it's a very dry year, we can see where the homestead house stood, and it goes back against the wall with the concrete foundation right out in front. Our tiny gasoline engines roar as we make short work of about the next 4 miles back to the campground at Leslie Gulch. On our way back, I am totally fascinated by the Rooster Comb dikes just above us. Our next stop will be an old corral for an old homestead. Before wire was around much, and it was very expensive, they would build the corrals of stone. There was plenty of that, and then later, as we near our camping area, we see many a little pinnacle towering above us, above the Owyhee River, and back to our camp. Next, we'll go down to the river. We can see some pelicans swimming in the upper part of the Owyhee Reservoir. There's a little bit of backed up water if we were to turn right when we get down, and the white pelicans are working and soaring high above us. The white pelican is one of my very favorite when it comes to the world of birds. They're so big and magical with that chin tucked in and that big pouch for expanding when they jump, when they dive into the water after. In any direction that you might look, there's some breathtaking scenery peeking out at you in the gorge of Leslie Gulch. We were looking for a second hot springs, but unfortunately didn't find it. The sweet smell of the bitter brush is all around us when we get up near our campground at Leslie Gulch. Today we're going to pile in our vehicle and go out and see if we can find some of the jasper picture stone that is supposed to be so great here in the Owyhee Canyon. The wildflower bloom is definitely on as we see some blue-eyed grass. And then we stop and peek over in Sucker Creek Canyon. It runs competition to the Owyhee Canyon. Some little flocks send their little propellers of flowers skyward, and the arrowleaf balsa root is starting to bloom alongside the road. Some of the buckwheat family make its presence known by gently waving in the morning breeze with a fly on it. An old curlew sets alongside us as we go. A sarvisberry bush is almost overdoing itself alongside the road as we go up Sucker Creek. The sarvisberry have a very nice blossom, and also later in the year they have some very sweet fruit on them, if you can find some that aren't terribly wormy. As we head back toward our campground, we pause briefly to look at this columnar basalt that has broke off and turned on its edge, and it looks like a stairway to heaven. Little blocks that sure do look like stair steps, and they go right up the mountain. For the rock enthusiast, the Leslie Gulch has something for everyone. Now we're going to hook on our trailers, and it's the weekend here, so there will be quite a few people show up. So we're going to head on over toward Three Forks. Leslie Gulch is a super nice little campground, and the best part about it, it's totally free. On the way up the road, as we wind our way up out of Leslie Gulch on a very good gravel road, we're totally fascinated by the breathtaking scenery that's unfolding in front of our very eyes. Dikes and pinnacles are the normal, as this is part of one of the Yellowstone volcanoes, and most of this is made up of ash that has solidified and turned into stone and then eroded away. And then there are volcanic dikes where the earth opened up and molten lava poured up and made these dikes to give just the perfect touch to Leslie Gulch. Not only are the rock formations really nice, but there's wildflowers blooming this time of year, as we spot some sweet peas growing not too far above the road. So we need to stop and take some pictures of these very sweet smelling. The sweet peas are the steepest sweet peas, and they prefer the steep slopes of the canyon walls as we head on up out of Leslie Gulch. The balsa root flowers are blooming in their little clumps on the way nearly out of Leslie Gulch. Not only are there many wild flowers growing on the way out of Leslie Gulch, but there's some formations that deserve a second look. This is where some of the volcanic ash has solidified and turned to a metamorphic rock, and then we see all the little pockets in it that have eroded out. Slightly softer material makes these little pockets that look like little bubbles. Fields of the balsa root flowers go clear to the cliffs above us. And Marge never turns down a chance for a photo op with the balsa root flowers in front of her. Here, Herman Leslie, who was killed by lightning here in 1882.
These colorful formations of volcanic ash have been spectacularly carved by erosion. Lake Owyhee, 8 miles.
No, our biggest trouble was Our next destination will be Three Forks. This is an area where the three forks of the Owyhee River come together. On the hillside beyond, we can see the old military road. This was an old pioneer road going to Silver City from the desert, and it was also used as an Indian fighting road. There was an old stone, sort of a fort, called a safe house down below, where they kept someone, and they kept extra teams of horses to pull the wagons up out of the steep Owyhee Canyon below. The old pioneer road was also used to haul mail to Silver City, Idaho, and some of the places on out in the Owyhee Desert beyond. There's a story that a wagon was heading out of the canyon, and they always carried a cannon on the mail wagon to protect themselves from Indian attacks, and the cannon became dislodged, fell out of the wagon, and rolled down into the canyon into the Owyhee River, and supposedly it's still there to this day. As we cautiously pick our way down into the bottom of the Owyhee Canyon, we can see the three forks of the Owyhee River running in front of us. There are many switchbacks going down into the canyon since we dropped quite a bit of elevation, and we can see Sam winding his way down to the floor of the canyon below. We waste no time setting up camp down along the Owyhee River, and then it's time to break out the fishing poles. Some real nice fresh bass out of the Owyhee River, which certainly tastes nice tonight, since they were biting really good and we caught some nice ones. And Sam will be our cook. He's chose to fix some vegetables and rice, and then lay the bass on top, season them a little bit, and let them steam. And that's a dinner fit for a king, cooked all in his 1947 antique trailer. Then the bass are prepared, and we're ready to dig in and have a feast of rice, vegetables, and bass. Wow, what a special dinner. The next morning we're greeted by some very nice warm sunshine, so we decide to unload the canoe off the top of Sam's pickup and take to the Owyhee River. We're going to paddle up to the hot springs and then hopefully catch some bass on the way back down.
Yeah.
We will be paddling against the current on up through the Owyhee Gorge, but it's not a strong enough current to be any problem, so it shouldn't take us long to get up to the hot springs as we wind our way up the Owyhee River.
Go on.
Deep here. The sucker hole. Wow, it's shallow here. Well, I may have to wade on this rapid again.
It kind of looks that way. Seems to change since I've been up here.
Yeah.
Or we could just paddle all the way up. Yeah, if you get clear to the end of the spring, you don't even have to walk in the water. It's easier. Oh, yeah.
It's a very calm, sunny morning as we paddle up the Owyhee River. The reflections of the cliffs beyond us are absolutely fantastic this morning. It's one of those great mornings when it's great to be alive. By now, we're in some fairly deep, still water, and each time we thrust the paddle into these waters of the river, it pushes us closer and closer to our destination of the Owyhee Hot Springs. We saw several ducks and geese and even an otter as we paddle up the river. Above us on the bank, we can see the old Silver City Road, the old wagon road going to Silver City on the banks high above us. They went along the river part of the time. Other times they were up on top and eventually ended up at Silver City, Idaho.
What kind of birdie is that?
Through still waters and then rapids, we're making pretty fair time on our way up to the Owyhee Hot Springs. And finally, we make it to our destination. We pull the canoe up on the bank and walk up the hill to the hot springs. And what a hot springs. It's flowing out of the mountain with a tremendous... The clear hot water cascades down over some cliffs, making an excellent shower. We go on up and follow the road around. This is part of the old Silver City Road that crosses a little canyon right above where the hot springs is, but the bridge is gone, so we have to climb down the bank. There's an old, quite rough, fairly badly eroded road across, and as we look across the river, we can see several pools with hot water coming down into them too. So there's plenty of hot water to get in here. Some monkey flowers are taking advantage of the warm water and the steam as they grow right on the banks of the warm water stream at the hot springs. This old Silver City road was built by hand. All these rocks had to be lifted by hand without the use of tractors or anything to make it easy. We saw a lot of woolly worms crawling all over the rocks. They must like the warmth of the steam from the hot spring. Even a spider has chosen the hot springs as a good place to build his web and try to tangle some insects into it above the pretty clear water of the hot springs. There are many pools you can choose to bathe in this warm, clear water, but we chose to go to this one where we have a little waterfall falling directly into the pool, and that's the best back massage you've ever had from that nice warm waters. There are little flowers all around, and even this one has its own private butterfly setting on it. The canoe is right below us, so we'll go down and do a little fishing in the river right where the fish like to come in and use the warm waters of the hot springs to warm themselves up and feed.
You gonna bring him over this way? I haven't seen him yet. There, he jumped. There. You got him. Good fishing.
A nice fish. There he is.
That's a nice fish.
That's a meal for two people.
There you go, Tom.
That's a good one.
Oh, you got a dandy, and you didn't lose him yet. You know how you're supposed to hold a bass? Stick your hand in his mouth
Grip him by the lower lip.
and hold on to him. That's almost as big as that one I caught yesterday.
Yeah, almost.
Uh-huh.
Okay, where's your stringer?
It's right here. Hold him up once more so we can get a picture of him. There we go.
The current is carrying us downstream very nicely, and that way we don't have to paddle much, and we can fish all the way down the river to our campsite, through the cliffs, alongside the old wagon road, the beautiful scenery of the Owyhee Canyon.
You want him netted, or are you going to flop him in?
I'll just flop him right in.
Oh, he's a nice one. Get him in.
Where's the stringer?
Here's the stringer. Okay, bring him in.
Okay, look up this way.
There.
How was fishing?
It was good.
Okay.
There's land fish. And there's a whole pile of them over here yet to be filleted. And then there's this great big one right here. That one's a big one.
Who caught him?
I think you did. That one.
We hurried and cleaned our fish. Some real nice fresh bass out of the Owyhee River, which certainly tastes nice tonight since they were biting really good and we caught some nice ones. And Sam will be our cook. He's chose to fix some vegetables and rice and then lay the bass on top, season them a little bit, and let them steam. And that's a dinner fit for a king, cooked all in his 1947 antique trailer. Then the bass are prepared and we're ready to dig in and have a feast of rice, vegetables, and bass. Wow, what a special and what